Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to another... I don't know if this is going to be Tryharding. I don't know if this is going to be Mad Meta. Probably Mad Meta, I imagine. I might take a break on recording Tryharding for a little bit until the meta shakes out across the next couple weeks. And then I'll do a lot of meta content in addition to all of the limited and jank content right now. But in this post-brewing Modern Horizons season, I've had a couple of ideas for decks. I tried them out. A few of them hadn't worked. Last night was really discouraging for me because I was working on a food deck and it was really late and I was trying to record it for content and I couldn't get the deck to work. Other people were having success with the deck and I don't know if it was the particular version of the deck that I was playing. I don't know if it was my particular strategy that I was trying to apply or what, but I could not get the deck to work. I recorded 2 full-length videos doing 2 full leagues. And I scrapped both of them because I was like, it's not fun. Nobody's going to enjoy watching this. Nothing cool happened literally the entire time. And it was really, really disheartening. So I figured, you know what? Let's step back, take a stab at something completely different that people are going to like. So Wizards recently decided that Cabal Coffers was okay enough to print in Modern, which I disagree with. But I think it's really strong. I've wanted a mono-black strategy to be viable for a while. I've tried playing mono-black Tron, and as you guys have seen, the deck sort of works, but frequently doesn't. This deck, just with the few test matches I've played, is what mono-black Tron wants to be, without literally any of the hassle of mono-black Tron. This card is all of your Tron lands in one card. It's pretty sick. And it produces colored mana, which is huge, because that was one of the big problems we had with Mono Black Tron. So to abuse Cabal Coffers, we're running Mono Swamps, and we're running Urborg, because Urborg turns itself into a swamp, it turns Cabal Coffers into a swamp, it does increase our swamp count, and it also turns Castle Lochthwain into a swamp, which we are playing as a couple of, because occasionally we're just going to grind out our opponent's deck, and we need to draw more cards than they do. Now, I have a ton of fun-ofs in this deck. We're going to play it, we're going to see what's good, we're going to see what's not, and we're going to make some decisions after the fact. So this deck tech is going to be a little bit longer as I go through and explain things. In the 1-drop slot, we have Bloodchief's Thirst as our removal spell of choice. It's a sorcery, it kills anything if you can kick it. We're going to have an excess of mana, so we should be able to do that. We have Inquisition of Kozilek as our first hand-hate spell. We've maxed out on Inquisition of Kozilek because we want to disrupt and interrupt our opponent's hands as much as possible in this format. It's great against control, it's great against combo, it's great against burn, at least Inquisition is. Thoughtseize, a little bit less good against burn, but still even better against combo, even better against control, taking their threats, taking their answers, denying them a card for 1 card proactively is very powerful, especially in a deck like this. We have a single expedition map to help us find Cabal Coffers. If we decide that we need Cabal Coffers, we might use this to tutor up Castle Lochthwain. In the 2-drop slot, we have Collective Brutality, which does a little bit more of what we have going on in the 1-drop slot. Kills small creatures, duresses our opponent, can drain our opponent for life if we need it. We can throw away cards we don't want, cards that we know we're not going to need. If we need to escalate, and we don't have to, this card is very versatile and very strong. We have... we can also pitch something like Increasing Ambition to the grave, because that naturally has flashback. Also in the 2-drop slot, we have Maze Mind Tome. This is one of the holdovers from when I was playing this as a black Tron deck. I think this card is excellent. In my opinion, this card does everything that you want a Phyrexian Arena-style card to do, except that it doesn't lose you life. It gains you life. And it's very good in a deck like this, because even if we activate Cabal Coffers, we can spend 4 mana to draw a card. Like, it doesn't matter at that point. Torment of Hailfire... I am conceding to all of you people who were begging and begging to play Torment of Hailfire in Black Tron. I am going to show you why this card is bad in Black Tron and amazing in a Cabal Coffers deck. So, this is one of our finishers. Another finisher is Consume Spirit. Because we only produce black mana, we can just generate a massive Consume Spirit and kill it, like, one-shot our opponent. We have Erebos' Intervention, once again as our kill spell of choice. This card is amazing with Cabal Coffers because it kills their biggest threat and gains you a bunch of life and delays a very, very long time. Alternatively, you can just exile your opponent's entire graveyard if they're Dredge. This card might actually need to be a 3-of or a 4-of, and I'm not 100% sure on the removal tuning for this deck yet, but we have Tribute to Hunger in the 3-drop slot. It's always good to have Edict effects in a deck like this. especially something like Tribute to Hunger, because Tribute to Hunger gains you life while answering potentially a large hexproof threat. You know, I've seen Geist of St. Traft's decks recently, And this is an excellent answer to Geist. It's an excellent answer to a Boggle. It's an amazing answer to a Boggle, actually, because a Boggle is like an 11/11, so you just gain all that life back and answer like 9 cards with 1. We have Dismember. Dismember we can play on turn 1, we can play on turn 2, we can play on turn 3. It's an instant speed, it kills most things, and we don't really care about the life loss that much. Singleton Liliana of the Veil. We're not really built as a stacks deck, but I've basically gone through and chosen one of each Liliana. So I have Liliana of the Veil, I have Liliana Last Hope, I have Liliana of the Dark Realms, I have Liliana Dreadhorde General, and Professor Onyx all in this deck. And I know I've skipped over a couple of Lilianas in that sequence, and I didn't take any of the intro deck Lilianas or anything like that. But I think it's really fun, and with the change to the Legend rule and the fact that we're going to have so much black mana, the plan is to just stick a whole bunch of different Lilianas and have her super friends team up with herself. Baleful Mastery is our premium removal spell of choice. A deck like this can cast it either way super quickly. If we don't get Cabal Coffers, if we don't get to 4 mana, we can play it as a Doomblade. Our opponent ends up drawing a card, but at the same time, we're exiling whatever we're hitting with it. And exile removal has been huge in the last couple of metagames. It's very important to be able to exile your opponent's creatures versus Dredge, versus decks that... because there's so many decks that recur stuff from the graveyard nowadays. I'm very happy that they printed a mono-black removal spell that exiles what it targets. I've been waiting for a card like this forever, and in mono-black Tron, this card was great. And it was great in mono-black Tron, even when we didn't have the big mana portion of the deck online, so it will be great here just the same way. We have Consuming Vapors as our other Tribute to Hunger effect. This is Rebound. This gains us a ton of life. It is sort of card advantage if our opponent is going wide. We have Gonti, Lord of Luxury. I've always wanted to make this guy work in Modern. I've always wanted to steal some good stuff from my opponents. This is kind of our hedge against control. It's going to take something good from them, and then we're going to play it. So like if we end up with a Teferi and we like start untapping Cabal Coffers on our end step, our opponent has a very short time to live. Liliana of the Dark Realms. Now, a lot of people think this card is bad. I played this card in Standard. This card is not bad. I have actually played this in Modern decks before, long before I actually started playing for YouTube. This card was the second Planeswalker with 4 abilities. Yeah, after Jace the Mind Sculptor, this was the second Planeswalker that had 4 abilities. And because of that, she's actually quite good. So her +1 always draws you a card. It always gets you a swamp, which in a deck like this is kind of important. It's effectively a Phyrexian Arena or an Endless Horizons or whatever. And if you alter, you're going to have such a crazy amount of mana. You could kill your opponent with anything at that point. But she does act as a kill spell. Like, she mutilates a single creature, or she can pump a creature equal to the number of swamps you control. This is a personal pet card of mine, even though this card should not have been a Liliana card, because these powers don't fit Liliana's power suite. I do really like this card, and I needed to include it in a deck like this. We have Mastermind's Acquisition, which actually serves as both a win condition and a tutor for whatever we need. So if there's a particular card in our deck that we know we need to answer the situation at hand, we use Mastermind's Acquisition and we go and get it. Otherwise, we can tutor for Thought Distortion or Emrakul out of the sideboard. Thought Distortion absolutely obliterating control decks by making them discard all non-creature, non-land cards uncounterably. And Emrakul, of course, can win the game, because if you have a single Cabal Coffers, it can tap for like 8 mana pretty easily. If you have multiple, you can cast Emrakul. Hard cast. It's fantastic. So in the 5-drop slot, we have Increasing Ambitions. This card is a 5-mana Diabolic Tutor with flashback for 8 mana, and if you flash it back, you get 2 cards, which is fantastic. It's a great card advantage spell. It's an excellent Cabal Coffers mana dump. Cabal Coffers and Increasing Ambition were one of the main things I abused when I played Mono Black EDH. In the 6-mana slot, we have Liliana Dreadhorde General. She's fantastic. She's a draw engine. She makes blockers. She's a Barter in Blood, and her ult wins the game. We have Professor Onyx, which, whenever we're casting spells, will start draining our opponent's life. Ransack the Laboratories to +1. -3 is an edict that kills our opponent's largest creature. And her -8 is very similar to a Torment of Hailfire cast with a huge X. We have Wormcoil Engine, because Mono Black Tron was this deck's roots, and Wormcoil Engine is one of the best Mono Black threats that exists. I thought about playing Obliterator in this deck, but it's really unnecessary. Wormcoil Engine is a lot more resilient than Obliterator is, because there's not a lot of damage removal running around right now, and the lifelink and life gain is huge. The fact that Mono Black has several life gain cards that you can play coincidentally to help delay the game against aggressive decks is pretty big. Worst Fears, because it's way better in this deck than it ever was in Mono Black Tron. And Ugin the Spirit Dragon, because it's one of the best board wipes that exist. We don't actually stick that many permanents onto the battlefield, other than our Planeswalkers, so the -X is basically a freebie in this deck. Being an incredibly powerful board wipe, we can answer enchantments with him, we can answer artifacts, if they're colored artifacts. He repeatedly bolts and can end the game with his ult. Out of the sideboard, we have a crap load of Grave Hate. We have Surgical Extraction versus Grave Combo. We have Cling to Dust. We have Crypt Incursion to gain a bunch of life. Plague Engineer, which is excellent versus tokens, versus humans, versus tribal decks. We have Necromentia, which is also excellent versus any deck that is trying to cast a particular spell. We can just yeet it out of their deck, and then they can't do anything about it. With Damnations as board wipes, Thought Distortion versus Control, because this card is basically unbeatable versus Control. Nile Spellbomb as additional Grave Hate cycling if we need it, and of course Emrakul to end the game if we decide we need to Mastermind's Acquisition for Emrakul. In my test matches, this deck beats aggro because of the amount of life, like incidental life gain stapled to your kill spells. I've not had too much trouble versus aggro. Against the combo decks that I've seen that have existed, generally the Inquisition Thoughtseize Collective Brutality early game suite is enough to delay until the late game. And post-board, we have Surgical Extraction for particular combo pieces. We have Crypt Incursion versus decks like Dredge, that sort of a thing. And versus Control, we literally just Thoughtseize them a whole bunch and then Thought Contortion them and play anything to win the game. I have beaten an aggro deck once, a combo deck once, and 2 control decks with this deck. It feels really busted. And I'm not sure exactly what its bad matchup is, but if I had to guess, it's going to be some kind of really, really heavy, super value mid-range deck. That is what is going to beat this deck. Versus classic aggro, classic combo, and classic control, this deck has favorable matchups. So, it seems pretty good to me. We'll find out when I play it through a full league. But, yeah, so I will see you guys in round 1. Alright, round 1. We are on the play. We've got Urborg, Cabal, Coffers. I think we're good to go. We're going to keep. We only have a Thoughtseize, but we do have a Mastermind's Acquisition. I'm recording, right? Okay, I'm not on mute, doing nothing crazy. Cool. Is my opponent mulliganing? They have mulligan to 5, and they're about to be Thoughtseized. So my land sequence is going to be Swamp, Urborg, Cabal, Coffers. I think. I might go like Swamp, Urborg, Swamp, Cabal, Coffers. We'll see. Start Swamp. Thoughtseize our opponent. Spellskite, Magus of the Moon, Aether Vial. Man, I don't even really care about Magus of the Moon because I'll just go get a kill spell. I think I take Aether Vial from them. Pass the turn. When it plays a Sacred Foundry tapped, we untap and draw a Wormcoil Engine. Play a Swamp, play an Expedition map. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps, they play a Plains. They play their Spellskite. We untap and draw Cabal Coffers. So, play an Urborg. Pass the turn. Okay, opponent plays a Stoneforge Mystic. They get Cauldra Complete. Complete? Equipped creature gets 5/5, has first strike, trample, indestructible, haste, and whenever this creature deals combat damage to a creature, exile that creature. Okay, so let's go ahead and crack Expedition now. Get a Cabal Coffers. We untap. Draw Consuming Vapors. Play Cabal Coffers. So I can have 5 mana this turn. Start by casting... Actually, hang on. Let's start by getting a card from outside the game. Yeah. Assuming my opponent is going to play Magus of the Moon next turn, we're going to go get Damnation. Pass the turn. So we're probably... Oh, actually, if they just Violin or Stoneforge in Cauldra Complete, next turn we might even be able to Damnation and Consuming Vapors, depending on what they play here. They just go for Magus. They play a Mountain. They hit us for 1, sure. We untap. We draw a Dismember. Oof. Oh man, okay, well, play Cabal Coffers. Let's go ahead and dismember. Oh, that's right. You know what? I should have saved the dismember, because I completely forgot Spellskite's a card that exists. Damnation. So opponent is now holding a 7-drop and 1 unknown card. Pass the turn. The only bad thing is I can no longer tutor for Emrakul, because I had to do that. Opponent plays a Sanctum Prelate and chooses the number 4. Well, I can no longer cast Consuming Vapors. I can't cast Baleful Mastery either. Play another Cabal Coffers. Add 6 mana, play Wormcoil. Pass the turn. 4 was a good guess. Opponent plays a new Stoneforge Mystic, gets a Batterskull, plays a Noble Hierarch, and passes. We untap, we draw Liliana of the Dark Realms. I am now extra sad. Hit our opponent for 6. Okay, opponent no blocks. They untap. Opponent goes to combat, attacks for 3 with Sanctum Prelate. We go to 16, untap. I don't want to attack into Cauldron Complete. Play a Swamp, pass the turn. I mean, we have answers. We just need to draw them. Okay, opponent makes a 5/5 first strike haste indestructible trample. The old wall of keywords. They play an Arid Mesa. They may just play out Batterskull. They can almost Stoneforge it in and equip Cauldron with Batterskull, which is scary. We can play anything we can draw, and we have a lot of kill spells that will actually kill this Germ token. Between, like, the Erebos kill spell. So we'll take 6. Go to 10. Untap. We draw Collective Brutality. Alright, so... Kill Sanctum Prelate. Activate Cabal Coffers number 1. And Cabal Coffers number 2. Play Liliana of the Dark Realms. Uptick. Go and get a Swamp. Play a Swamp. How much is this to equip? 7? Okay. Baleful Mastery. Full price. Kill the token. And we will Consuming Vapors. Alright. So opponent sacked Stoneforge. We go to combat. And attack for 6. Opponent chumps. They have Restoration Angel. And they're holding Batterskull. Okay, this probably is a Kiki Chord deck, then. If they're playing red, green... Yeah, this definitely could have a Kiki-Jiki combo finish. Especially because I think this is the Boulderloft pathway land, right? Okay, never mind, it's green-white. They're killing Liliana. And I guess probably playing Batterskull. Okay, they don't cast Batterskull. We untap. Consuming Vapors, make them sack. They sack Resto. We draw Erebos' Intervention. Well, that's only going to gain us roughly 1 trillion life, if it ever resolves. Go to combat. Attack for 6. They might be trying to save their mana to equip Cauldron. Another Resto. Flickering the Noble. Sure. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. They draw. They play Imperial Recruiter. Let's see what they reveal. Kiki-Jiki. So they're holding Batterskull, Kiki-Jiki. Okay. So Cabal Coffers, Cabal Coffers, Cabal Coffers. Erebos' Intervention. Gain 22 life. So much better than Mono Black Tron. It's like, even when we were casting this card for like 5, you know, it was good. Alright, we untap. Draw me some kill spells or Hand Hate. Either one, really. Baleful Mastery is in fact a kill spell. Go to combat. Attack for 6. No blocks. Opponent goes to 4. Pass the turn. Leave up Baleful Mastery. If they draw a land, they'll try and equip Cauldron Compleat to have it on defense. They need a red source to be able to equip, or to be able to cast Kiki-Jiki. They drew Sword of Fire and Ice. They're going to equip to the Noble Hierarch. This is fine. They go to combat. They attack us for 3. And we actually don't care. So they hit us for 3. They can shock something. They shock our face. Exile Imperial Recruiter. So they have to have Solitude? No, they can't even. Jeez. Well, we got him. Let's see. I think I want a Damnation in the main. Probably over a Gonti. Plague Engineer doesn't really do anything. Necromentia does. Necromentia is probably better than... I'm not sure what it's better than. But we could name Kiki. It's probably better than Liliana of the Dark Realms. In this particular situation, anyway. So the problem is with Liliana of the Dark Realms, she has to uptick once before she can defend herself. I don't think I need to play Surgical, but we'll find out. Yeah, this hand seems pretty sweet. We'll keep. Opponent leads on a Plains, plays a Giver of Runes. We draw Tribute to Hunger, play a Swamp. I love the fact that this deck can just play so many Swamps and be immune to Blood Moon. This is like, Blood Moon shuts off Cabal Coffers, sure, but that just means we have to play fairly. Like, we have to play with a regular amount of mana, and we can. We're just a little slower, that's all. Opponent cracks Windswept Heath for a Sacred Foundry, untaps. They draw, play Plains, they play Magus of the Moon. I mean, I don't really care that much. And they're going to try and protect him. That's fine. Baleful Mastery, they even get to draw a card out of the deal. So thankful that's not Mother of Runes. We untap. Draw Inquisition. So, I guess play an Urborg and kill the Magus. I'm doing this now so that they don't have like a flash effect like a Resto or something to protect it. They have a Sanctum Prelate. They choose 4. They play a Windswept Heath and pass. We untap. Draw Baleful Mastery. Play Cabal Coffers. Activate it. Inquisition. Spellskite, Imperial Recruiter. Take Recruiter. Tribute to Hunger. Alright, pass the turn. I can't tell you how awesome it feels to play this deck right now. This is fun. I haven't played a deck like this since Standard. Like, I used to play a mono-black Kill Spells deck in Innistrad Standard after my friend showed me how much fun it was and how much not fun it was for your opponent. Opponent cracks Windswept Heath. Gets Temple Garden untapped. They play a Noble Hierarch. They pass. We untap. We draw Castle Locthwain. Play Castle Locthwain. Coffers. Oh, I don't have quite enough to activate Castle, do I? Full price, we'll exile the Spellskite. Pass the turn. Opponent might cycle Canopy here, they don't. Opponent plays another Noble, attacks for 2. We take 2. They have a Restoration Angel now. And this is the Canopy they played. We untap. Draw Swamp. Play Castle. Activate Coffers. Activate Castle Locthwain, draw a card, lose 3 life. Activate Castle Locthwain, draw a card, and lose 3 life. Thoughtseize. Well, I'm not going to Thoughtseize just to force them to play their Resto that they're probably going to play anyway. I think that's some unnecessary life loss. When it cycles Canopy, they untap and draw. They go to combat, attack for 2. We take 2. If they leave up Resto this turn, I will Thoughtseize, especially if I draw a removal spell. We draw a Maze Mind Tome, which is actually quite good. So play a Swamp. Thoughtseize our opponent, force them to act. Skyclave Apparition, Restoration Angel, Cauldra, complete. Skyclave Apparition doesn't really do a whole lot. Restoration Angel is annoying, but Cauldra is actually devastating. So we'll take Cauldra from them. Activate Coffers. Play Maze Mind Tome. And this is only a single Cabal Coffers, like... Draw with Castle Locthwain. Lose 3 life. Draw an extra card here. We got Liliana, Dreadhorde, General. Alright, pass the turn. Opponent's going to flash Restoration Angel. They may play Skyclave next turn to take out the Maze Mind Tome. They can hit us for 5, but they're only going to sack their Mana Dorks, so we still have to draw something. They go to combat, hit us for 5, we go to 2. So if we could draw our Damnation, or... They have a Lightning Bolt? Okay, they have an Aether Vial. That's fine. We untap, draw Torment of Hailfire. So repeat the following process X times. Each opponent loses 3 life unless that player sacrifices a non-land permanent or discards a card. They have no cards to discard. Play a swamp. Activate Coffers. We have 13 mana, so X11. They can sack 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 non-land permanents. 6 times 3 is 18. They die? Alright. I mean, I'm not upset about it. This is way better than in Mono Black Tron. Because in Mono Black Tron, I'd have like 1 swamp, maybe, and then the rest would be Tron lands. So they lose life down to 1. They sack Aether Vial. Noble. Resto. Skyclave. Did we get him? Yeah! Oh, we got him with the Torment of Hailfire! So much better in this deck. I hope that was cathartic for all of you guys who were screaming at me when I was playing Mono Black Tron to do that, but... Because it was cathartic for me to cast that. That was awesome. Alrighty. Welcome back, everybody, to round 2, and we will be on the draw. I think this hand is actually going to be quite good against most decks. Obviously, we want to be drawing Cabal Coffers from this position. And it looks like we are against some kind of Sultai deck here. So we're definitely leading on Thoughtseize, I'm pretty sure. Alright, perfect. 4th land. So lead on Swamp. Give me the old Thoughtseize. Voice of Resurgence, Voice of Resurgence, Voice of Resurgence. And General Ferris Rockrick. I will definitely be taking out General Rockrick here. Pass the turn. As they would have been able to play him turn 2. His opponent plays a Blood Crypt. They're going to cast a Voice of Resurgence. The good news is, Erebos' intervention killing Noble Hierarch means they cannot play their other voices. At least not right away. We are kind of relegated right now to exclusively casting spells on our turn. I don't think we need to Duress. They've only drawn 1 card. So let's just kill the Hierarch. Pass the turn. Next turn we can Thoughtseize and maybe even kill a token with Collective Brutality, or kill a Voice of Resurgence with Collective Brutality. Opponent plays a Forest. They have a non-Voice of Resurgence spell to cast, presumably. They do not. We untap. We draw Liliana Dreadhorde General. Let's go ahead and Thoughtseize. They have a Lightning Helix, a Voice, and a Voice. Take Voice, play a Swamp, and let's 2-mode Duress and kill. This is potentially dangerous. I'm going to discard Liliana Dreadhorde General. And I say it's potentially dangerous because my opponent ends up with a token that could grow here. So if they draw like a token producer, it could be a huge problem. They play a Territorial Kavu, so this is very much a domain multicolor sort of deck. We draw a Swamp, play a Swamp, play Gonti. We have no lands in the grave, we have no multicolor spells. There's an Ignoble Hierarch? I kind of like Ren and 6 being able to ping, because if they attack with Territorial Kavu, we can block there, and if they don't draw another creature, or they don't draw a white source, we can ping down the Elemental. Otherwise, we can take the General and just block with him. I'm going to take Ren and 6. Ren and 6 also has the upside of if I draw another Collective Brutality, I can kill and drain, and then I can play Ren and 6 and pick up the land that we discarded. So opponent discards Voice of Resurgence and draws a new card. I am going to trade here. Okay, opponent plays an Ignoble Hierarch. We draw Cabal Coffers. So I don't know if my opponent has any non-targeted discard or discard that can hit lands, but I don't think it's worth hiding Cabal Coffers from them. Play Ren and 6. Kill the Hierarch. Pass the turn. Opponent draws and plays a land. So the fetch land presumably can get them whatever color of mana they need to cast the last spell in their hand. And from this point, we literally just need to draw anything that isn't a land. Siege Rhino. Okay, so they will be able to take out Wrenn and 6. We need to draw something. Okay? We untap. Draw Maze Mind Tome. That does count as something. I'm going to play a Swamp, because I'm going to activate Coffers here. Play Maze Mind Tome. Draw a card. Castle Lochthwain. Not really what I wanted, but pass the turn. Opponent untaps, they draw. They're going to hit us for 6 and take us to 4. We untap. I think we're going to use the draw mode because we have so many lands. We draw Worst Fears. That does work. That's effectively a Time Warp here. So we can play Castle Lochthwain, add 5 mana, and then I can Worst Fears my opponent. They have an instant. They bolt our face and we go to 1. Alright. Scry mode. Cabal Coffers to the bottom. It is not what we need here. So gain control of our opponent. They untap. They draw Wrenn and 6. Wrenn and 6 will kill us. Okay. So we can't do anything with Wrenn and 6 here except beneficial things. So we're just going to float their mana and pass. Alright, we untap. We draw Swamp. That is not what I wanted to see. So play a Swamp. Activate Coffers. Let's draw a card. Baleful Mastery. We can use Baleful Mastery to kill Rhino, but we can't deal with Wrenn and 6 or the Elemental, so we gotta scoop it up. Alright, we just bricked and drew a lot of lands that game. Okay, so my opponent is a multicolor heavy creature list. So I'm going to play Damnation here. I may want a Crypt Incursion in the deck just to help gain some life back. But really, I think that was kind of abnormal for us. We only played 22 lands. And it's not like we couldn't cast the spells that we were drawing either. So, versus my opponent's deck in particular, I actually don't think Gonti is going to be that good. It's better when they're playing like removal that hits the own types of creatures in their deck. I guess I could steal like a Lightning Helix or something potentially, but then I'm gonna cut. I think I'm gonna cut this expedition map, and we're gonna run it back. All right, we'll be on the play this time. We have multiple Damnations. We lead on a Thoughtseize into a Maze Mind Tome, so I'm actually gonna keep this. Maze Mind Tome hopefully can find us a Cabal Coffers, an Urborg, more mana anyway. So, start Thoughtseize. Let's take a look here. Opponent has Lightning Bolt, Gaddock Teeg. Well, take Gaddock Teeg from them. Pass the turn. I mean, Gaddock Teeg is pretty good against us. It stops our 2-mana removal spell in the form of Baleful Mastery from working. We draw Baleful Mastery, alright. Play a Swamp, play a Maze Mind Tome, pass the turn. Opponent draws. They play a Stomping Ground, untapped. I think they're just leaving up Double Bolt. So stop on their end step, go Scrying, Swamp to the top. We untap, draw Swamp, play the Swamp, pass the turn. So we're probably just going to draw a card on their end step. We do have Baleful Mastery in case of emergency. Like if my opponent were to play something really, truly devastating on 3 here. So they play their Snow-Covered Forest, and they play a Hierarch. That is not what I would classify as devastating. So let's begin drawing some extra cards. Mastermind's Acquisition actually could be really good. We draw Tribute to Hunger. I can try and draw a land first to play it this turn. I don't think that's good because I actually have a couple of spells I can cast. I think it's better to just leave up Tribute to Hunger or Baleful Mastery if we decide we need it, and then draw a card if we don't, scry if we do. Pass the turn. Plus we're holding 2 board wipes. Unless my opponent top decks another Gaddock Teeg, we should be fine, I suspect. Opponent bolts our face. They untap. That seemed kind of like an impatient bolt. They shock Temple Garden. They play a Noble Hierarch. So lots of Exalted triggers. But like I said, as long as it's not Gaddock Teeg, we should be fine. Gem Razor. Whenever this creature mutates, destroy... What happens if you kill the creature it's mutating onto in response? I can't remember. Let's see. It checks whether it ceases and then resolves as a normal creature spell and enters the battlefield. Whenever this creature mutates... So if I kill the Ignoble Hierarch in response, they won't kill the Maze Mind Tome. The alternative is I let my opponent do this, I draw a card, and if I hit a land I can Damnation, and that way they don't draw a card off Baleful Mastery. I actually think that's better. So let's draw a card now. Okay, we did draw the land. Perfect. Opponent mutates. Kills our Maze Mind Tome. They're going to hit us for 6. We're going to go to 9. Untap. We draw a Swamp. Play a Swamp. Damnation. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. They play a Siege Rhino and drain us, but this is what Tribute to Hunger is for. So play a Swamp. Eat the Rhino. We gain 5 life. Pass the turn, and we have Baleful Mastery in case of emergency, as well as a Wormcoil Engine. Opponent plays General Ferris Rockerick. Okay, I am actually going to kill him because if my opponent happens to top deck a multicolored spell... Oh, he's hexproof from monocolored. I'd have to use a Wrath. Is it worth it? This is my last Wrath. I actually think it is. So Damnation again. It's possible that we should have just played out Wormcoil Engine there, and it might even be probable, but I'm going to be playing a little bit safer than usual. Okay, so opponent passes, we untap, we draw Torment of Hailfire. So I'm actually going to use Mastermind's Acquisition to go get a Cabal Coffers, because this makes Erebos' Intervention gain us a ton of life. It lets us, it's mana neutral for casting Wormcoil Engine, and next turn we could cast an enormous Torment of Hailfire, potentially. Opponent Lightning Helixes our face. And they bolt. We're at 5. If they have 2 Lightning Bolts, I guess we're dead. Well, they can't beat the Wormcoil. They did have the multicolored spell, too, so I'm glad I used the Damnation when I did. Do I want Crypt Incursion or Cling to Dust? I kind of do want Cling to Dust, because I've got this feeling I'm going to need to go through my deck a little bit faster than I have. I'm going to drop, I think, a Thoughtseize, and I'm actually going to drop one Thoughtseize for a Crypt Incursion, just for slightly more early game sustain than I have. Alright, this seems like a good opener. We'll keep. We have a Bloodchief's Thirst for a turn 1 creature, otherwise we'll just be Inquisitioning a lot. Second Urborg, not what you want to see, but what we'll tolerate. Start on Inquisition. Put it as Bolt, Bolt, Teague, Rockerick. So take Teague. Pass the turn. On a Crack's Windswept Teeth, probably getting a Sacred Foundry or Temple Garden or a Stomping Ground. They get a Temple Garden. They untap. They play a Blood Crypt. Tapped. They're not leaving up Lightning Bolt. They play Ignoble Hierarch. We draw Consume Spirit. So we know what their hand is. We're going to take Rockerick from it. And I think I am going to go Bloodchief's Thirst, because that stops them from just top-decking a land and playing Siege Rhino next turn. Might buy us enough time to actually find an answer for the Siege Rhino. Pass the turn. I'd really like a Cabal Coffers here. Okay, opponent passes. They got nothing. There it is. So we're going to lead on Urborg, just in case they do have a Stone Rain or a Fulminator Mage or something. I would not put it past my opponent to have a Fulminator Mage. If they do play a Siege Rhino, I should actually have enough mana to Consume Spirit to kill it. Opponent Lightning Helixes us. They drew a Wooded Foothills. We untap. Draw a Swamp. So play Cabal Coffers. Activate Coffers. Cast Increasing Ambition. And what do we get here? We're going to have a lot of mana. I could actually Increasing Ambition for another Cabal Coffers and then flash it back next turn using our absurd amount of mana. Or I could get a Planeswalker that would be really strong against my opponent's current board. I don't think any Planeswalker I have survives being bolted twice, so I'm just going to get the Coffers. Pass the turn. Opponent cracks Wooded Foothills, they're going to thin their deck. They get a Stomping Ground tapped. They untap, they draw a card. They play a Windswept Teeth, they crack it. So here comes the Rhino. They get a Sacred Foundry. Okay, we get Helixed. We untap, we draw Worst Fears. Oh! So I can Worst Fears them, force them to bolt themselves twice, and then consume Spirit to kill them. Play the second Coffers. Activate Coffers. Activate Coffers. Worst Fears. So that's 8 mana. Okay, hang on. Because we have 5 swamps. Next turn we'll have 6. So that'll be 3 mana to get 6 mana. Then 2 of that 6 mana and 1 more to get 6 more with 10. 11? Okay, so we're actually just going to use their bolts to kill their Siege Rhino. They untap. They draw Voice of Resurgence, which is annoying, but bolt the Rhino. Yep. Bolt the Rhino. Man, Mindslaver's really good. Float mana. Pass the turn. So they're holding Voice of Resurgence. We untap. Draw a swamp. Play a swamp. Activate Coffers. Activate Coffers. So this is 8 mana to flashback, and we'll have 4 mana left over. I'm kind of feeling like we should get a Planeswalker to force them to discard. So like Liliana of the Veil, and then our other card should be maybe like a Torment of Hailfire. Opponent scoops! Worst Fears coming in the clutch. Alright, I'll see you guys in round 3. Alright, we have our first kind of sketchy hand. Any land makes this hand really good. And we have an Expedition map, so if we were to draw another land and get Urborg, we are set. We are on the draw, so I actually think it's worth the risk. Depending on what my opponent is doing, I will either lead on Expedition map or I will lead on Thoughtseize. I also realize now I forgot to put Break the Ice in the sideboard. I think I have a little bit too much Grave Hate, but I also haven't seen a lot of decks that Break the Ice would have been good against. So my opponent leads on Crashing Footfalls Suspended. Interesting choice. So we are going to play a Swamp and Thoughtseize. They have Subtlety and Shardless Agent. Take Shardless Agent from them. So this is the Cascade deck. We're not really scared of Subtlety, as we don't really cast that many creatures. It also is not going to come down for a very long time. We draw Tribute to Hunger, which is great versus our opponent's Rhino's card, basically. It's going to gain us a bunch of life. I put a Cracked Scalding Tarn, gets a Steam Vents tapped. They untap. Rhinos is ticking down. They play a Steam Vents, which is a card we did not know about. We untap. Oh no! The All Cabal Coffers hand. If we ever draw a second land, we're golden, because then we just get Urborg and then have all the mana in the world to do whatever we want with, but... Yep, but it plays a Scalding Tarn, so they're still holding Mountain and they're still holding Subtlety. We untap and draw a Swamp. Thank goodness. Pass the turn. This opponent probably is going to flash in Subtlety here. Nope. They're going to leave Subtlety in their hand. They get Crashing Footfalls. They play the Mountain, and they pass the turn. So, activate map. Get Urborg. Untap. We draw Swamp. Play Urborg. Activate Coffers. Let's go ahead and 2 modes. We'll Duress, Drain. Using our floating mana, ditch a Swamp. Opponent is going to Cryptic Command. Counter and draw. So let's see. I can go up to 7 mana. That's not really enough for me. I don't really want to consume Spirit. I guess that's enough to cast Baleful Mastery and Tribute to Hunger, though, so I will do that. So Tribute to Hunger my opponent, and I'm doing this now because they basically would have to have Force of Negation pitching Subtlety here, and they do not. So full price Baleful Mastery. They get to counter and draw. Alright. I think we navigated that about as well as we could have. Opponent plays a land. They pass. We draw. Increasing ambition. That's wonderful. Play Cabal Coffers. Alright. Activate Cabal Coffers. Let's go ahead and increase our ambition. Opponent has another Cryptic. Okay. So, activate both Coffers. Flashback increasing ambition. So, from this position, I think what I want a Thought Seize for one, and then maybe I want something to end the game with, so probably a big Planeswalker threat. I have 3 Cabal Coffers. I could get I was gonna say I could get Mastermind's Acquisition, but we're definitely taking a Thought Seize for one of our 2 cards. Then I think I'm gonna take Ugin for the other one. So let's go ahead and Thought Seize. Let's see what's going on over there. Subtlety and Subtlety. Alright. Pass to our opponent. Opponent plays a Gemstone Caverns, we untap. Draw Urborg. So, activate Coffers. Activate Coffers. Play Ugin. Shoot our opponent. Pass the turn. We are almost to outright killing them with Consume Spirit. Opponent flashes in Subtlety because they need a creature on board. No targets for its ability. Wait a minute. They could have tucked Ugin on top of our deck. I'm kind of wondering why they didn't. Alright. Oh, they could... Yeah, because they could have responded by casting it. They go to combat. They attack Ugin for 3 and take him to 4. Then they play Bone Crusher and pass. We untap. We draw Liliana, Dreadhorde General. Activate Cabal Coffers. Play Liliana. And the game is over. Alright. So, I think I want a Damnation in this deck. I actually want both. Thought Distortion also seems like it might be kind of good. But they actually, a lot of their modal spells are creatures, so actually I'm not going to do that. Damnation's definitely coming in. I like the Hand Hate. The Hand Hate is good in this matchup. Erebos' Intervention actually seems like one of our worst removal spells, but the fact that it gains us life is so important. Our Tribute to Hunger effects are great. I think I'm actually going to cut Dismember to avoid the life loss. I'm going to cut Gonti. I could bring in Surgical, because if we can hit their Cascade spell, that's like all of their power gone. Maybe that means I play Necromentia. What do I play Necromentia over? I think it's Liliana of the Dark Realms. Let's try this. Man, this deck really feels like we have... As long as we have mana, we can answer any situation, and it feels great. I think we keep this hand, despite the lack of relative interaction. Opponent starts by fetching up a forest and suspending Footfalls. We draw a swamp, play a map. Opponent Force of Negations pitching Fire and Ice. They are going all in on this one Footfalls. Respect, opponent. We untap, we draw Erebos' Intervention. Play a swamp, pass the turn. I wish I could rearrange this Exile Zone so that I could see this card on top, but opponent fetches up a basic island. Footfalls ticking down to 2. Are they playing Blood Moon? Because Blood Moon isn't good against us. It just makes it take longer. So they fetch with Wooded Foothills. They get a Steam Vents untapped. Hilarious. I really feel like an evil overlord playing this deck. It's fantastic. Have you ever played Blood Moon against a deck that is all swamps? I can't imagine it feels very good. Opponent plays a land. We untap. Draw Cabal Coffers. Yeah. Play Cabal Coffers. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. Crashing Footfalls coming off Suspend. They make some dudes. Full price Baleful Mastery to kill 1. Let them go on with their life. We untap. Draw Professor Onyx, which we can just cast next turn. Play a swamp. Pass the turn. We will Erebos' Intervention on their upkeep. Hang on, turn off auto yields. Oh, a Violent Outburst. So they are going to make more Rhinos. Kill their Rhino, gain life. They make more. They untap. They're going to hit us for 8 and take us to 16. They play a Spire Bluff Canal. They have one unknown card in their hand. We draw Castle Lochthwain. So play Castle Lochthwain. Play Professor Onyx. Edict them. Now they basically have to take a turn off to hit Professor, because if they don't, they're going to be really sad. Okay, Professor down. We untap, draw Maze Mind Tome, play Urborg, increasing ambition. I think I'm honestly just going to get Bloodchief's Thirst. Kill the token. Pass the turn. Now all we need is a land and we can cast Ugin. Our opponent has used 2 Crashing Footfalls. Ah yes, Shardless Agent. Come on, land. They get a Shardless Agent. We untap. Land! Play a Swamp. Pray for no Force of Negation. Land an Ugin. -3. Pass the turn. That's 3! They are about out of their primary game plan, and they are about to switch to the backup game plan of conceding, apparently. I was going to say playing underpowered Teamer Control, but holy crap, we are beating people into submission. I will see you guys in round 4. Alright. I like it. We're keeping. This is a turn 1 Inquisition into a turn 2 Maze Mind Tome. Playing Coffers on turn 3. Lead on Inquisition. See what we're up against. Let's see. Metallic Rebuke, Academy Manufacturer, and Gilded Goose. I think we take Gilded Goose from them. We have kill spells for their other stuff. I think just slowing them down is best. Pass the turn. Opponent plays an Overgrown Tomb untapped into a Cauldron Familiar. We untap and draw Cabal Coffers. Play Swamp, play Maze Mind Tome, pass the turn. Opponent draws. They play a Breeding Pool tapped. They go to combat. Hit us for 1. We scry. Mastermind's Acquisition. Tempting, but I think we put that to the bottom. Untap. Draw Swamp. So, play a Swamp. Pass the turn. Opponent draws. They shock a Breeding Pool and attack us for 1. That's fine. So they're leaving up their Improvise spell. Let's go ahead and draw a card. Consume Spirit, not really what we're looking for, but not bad. We draw Liliana. Play Cabal Coffers. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. They draw. Opponent plays an Academy Manufacturer. Then plays Gingerbread Cabin. Full price Baleful Mastery. Get rid of the Manufacturer. They get a food. And they play Quirion Ranger. Return a forest you control to its owner's hand. Untap a creature so they can pick up Gingerbread. I like it. I like it. I don't think it's good enough to beat this deck. Especially not when we're drawing that. But I like it. We draw Liliana. Play Cabal Coffers. Activate Cabal Coffers. Activate Cabal Coffers. Play Liliana. Kill Quirion Ranger. Then draw an extra card. Gain all that life back. Get a Swamp. Pass the turn. Life feels pretty good right now. When it goes to combat, attacks Liliana, takes her to 3. They play a Misty. Then they play Karn, Great Creator. They wish. If it's a 0-mana artifact, they'll have Metallic Rebuke. It's a Witch's Oven. Cat Food combo assembled. Alright. We untap. We draw Urborg. Well, that just skyrocketed the amount of mana we have. We need to kill Karn. We know they're holding Metallic Rebuke 1 unknown, and we have Increasing Ambition. So the first thing we're going to do is play Urborg. So we have 6, and we can go up to 10. And we have 11, 12 mana total this turn. So I think what this means is we're going to consume Spirit Karn for 3, for a total of 5 mana, and then we're going to play Liliana of the Dark Realms. So kill Karn, play other Lily, Go get a swamp. And uptick. Targeting nothing. Alright, pass the turn. Opponent sacks the cat. Reanimates the cat. We lose a life. They gain a life. They untap. They draw a card. They play Misty. They go to combat. They attack Liliana the Last Hope. She goes to 3. We untap. Draw Urborg. Uptick Liliana the Dark Realms. Get a swamp. Uptick Liliana the Last Hope. Play a swamp. Add a bunch of mana. Cast Increasing Ambition. We don't have to show our opponent what we're getting, and it's great. Oh man, I could Worst Fears them. I have a lot of mana left over. 1, 2, 3... 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I have 7 mana after this. And I need to play around this Metallic Rebuke. So, wait, I have 7 mana, and I just have swamps in my head. I actually think I'm going to get a Maze Mind Tome and start drawing more cards. Play Maze Mind Tome. Pass the turn. Opponent reanimates the cat. They gain a life. Yeah, they gain a life, we lose a life. They sack the cat, they make a food. And they reanimate the cat. Okay. Pass to our opponent. Opponent cracks Misty. Gets a gingerbread cabin, makes a food. I guess if they have Lannis and Academy Manufacturer in their deck, they're going to make a lot of tokens. Actually, pretty sure that goes infinite. If they do, if they have those cards. They play Urza, Lord High Artificer, which gives them a lot of mana. They sack the cat, they get a food. And then they can spin Urza and reanimate the cat. So we need to end this game quickly. Overgrown Tomb. They already played a land. No, they cracked Misty, so they can just get that land. Alright, on their end step. Activate Coffers, just in case we draw a big instant. We get a Thoughtseize. Untap. We draw another Urborg. I can kill Urza with this Liliana. Or I can kill the No, I would kill Urza, that's for sure. So I'm going to play a Swamp. Activate Coffers. Flashback Increasing Ambition. Then we're going to get Worst Fears... and I think Torment of Hailfire. Add a bunch of mana. Worst Fears. So we can waste all of their resources, kill anything we want to. The opponent's going to return the Cauldron Familiar. They're going to lose a life. Okay. So then we can uptick Liliana, kill Cauldron Familiar, uptick Liliana of the Dark Realms. We're going to alt Liliana of the Dark Realms. We're going to alt Liliana of the Dark Realms and cast the biggest Torment of Hailfire this side of the universe. That is what is going to happen here. Let's just go ahead and draw a card now. Professor Onyx. Alright, opponent's turn. They've got Metallic Rebukes. They draw Witch's Oven. Play Witch's Oven. Sack Urza. Make some foods. Sack the Familiar. Then we're going to hold priority, activate Familiar, activate Familiar, activate Familiar, activate Familiar. They get back the cat. Okay. We lose a life. Nothing else happens. Then float a bunch of mana. Pass the turn. This just feels unfair. We untap. I suspect a lot of people are going to be playing like Stone Rains and stuff for Cabal Coffers. If this deck becomes big, we draw a Swamp. So, play a Swamp. Swamps you control get add 4. Alrighty. They don't even want to know what I'm casting. Oh, they're just like, oh my god, he spent over 20 mana, concede. Oh, that was so mean. Okay, surgicals in necromentia in no, I don't need necromentia, I just want surgicals. And probably cling to dust and a Nile spell bomb. Okay, so we're gonna cut what is bad in this matchup. I don't think we need the expedition map. I don't think we need Liliana of the Dark Realms, as hilarious as she is. Consuming Vapors and Tribute to Hunger are actually going to be really bad. The life gain isn't relevant. They're basically going to either completely nuke us or do nothing the whole game. And they're going to have enough stuff that they want to sack that the Edict effects are just going to be terrible. And I'm going to cut, I think, Liliana of the Veil. We're going to try it like this. Yeah, alright, we'll keep. Alright, we draw Inquisition, so let's go ahead and lead on Inquisition, because their whole hand is cheap. They're generally their mana cost is really cheap. Okay. They cycle a Veil of Summer. We pass the turn. Next turn we'll have double hand hate. They play a Goose. You get a food. Play a Verdant Catacombs. Watery Grave. Cauldron Familiar. Okay. We untap. Draw Collective Brutality. Play an Urborg, and let's go 2 modes. Kill Duress. And I'm going to ditch Gaunty here. They do have Lannis. That is a problem. Pass the turn. It's also a problem because we only have Hand Hate now. They have to play a tapped Gingerbread Cabin, so if they play Lannis here, we can get rid of the Oven. They play the Oven. I guess the Oven is more integral to the combo. We draw another Inquisition, so... Inquisition. Chatterfang and Lannis. Take Lannis. Inquisition. Take Chatterfang. Alright, pass the turn. Well, they have a cat, an oven, and a dream. They sack the cat, they reanimate the cat, drain us. They play a forest. They hit us for 1. We draw an Urborg. Not really what we want to see here. Play Maze Mind Tome. Opponent sacks the cat. Gets a food. We resolve Maze Mind Tome. Pass the turn. This is why we play Urborg only as a 3-of, because we really want to draw one every game, but we never want to draw multiples. But it makes Coffers so much stronger than it has any right to be. Okay. Opponent drains us. They draw. They play a land. They go to combat. They're going to hit us for 1. Alright, stop on their end step. Scry. Cling to Dust. I'm actually going to leave that on top, because we can actually deal with the cat that way. Draw Cling to Dust. Pass the turn. We sack the cat. We respond. Exile the cat. They're going to activate the cat's ability, and then we exile the cat. Perfect. Opponent gets a food. They untap. They draw. They draw a land. And they have got nothing. Nothing! Scry with Maze Mind Tome. Thoughtseize to the bottom. We need anything else. Untap. We draw the 3rd Urborg. The legendary Urborg number 3. Draw an extra card. Don't like it. Pass the turn. Oh no, Urza? That's a really good top deck. We gotta do something about that. We untap. We draw Surgical. Draw an extra card. Gain life. Another Surgical. Alright. I'm gonna play an Urborg to have an untapped one. Pass the turn. If they activate Urza, I'm gonna Surgical Lannis in response. I'm gonna do this on their upkeep. I should actually have done that on their draw step. They only have 1 chatter. No, they have multiple. Okay. So 5 mana, they're gonna spin the Urza wheel. They hit an Urza, which they play. Legend rule themselves. They get a Construct, though. Play a Gingerbread Cabin, get a food. They're going to spin the Urza wheel again. Hit Yavi Maya, Cradle of Growth. They hit us for 6. Okay. We untap. Draw Swamp. Finally, we draw Swamp. Play the Swamp. The problem is, I think we're going to be dead here. Yeah, I actually think we die. Because my opponent can just sack Urza and get enough foods that these guys become 7/7s, and we're going to go to 1. I'd have to top deck Damnation, and they would have to have nothing. Which, considering how many lands they've top decked right in a row, is very unlikely. We're dead. Yep, we are absolutely dead. In my defense, though, we drew 3 Urborgs. I do think Necromentia is worth it. And I'm gonna cut... I think I cut a Thoughtseize for it. We'll try it like this. The good news is we're back on the play. I would like to play first. This hand is really good. We'll keep. Opponent is mulligan to 6 cards. Alright. Well, lead on a Swamp. Inquisition. They have Academy Manufacturer, Lannis, and Chatterfang. What exactly does Chatterfang do again? If one or more tokens would be created under your control, create those tokens plus that many 1/1 green squirrel tokens are created instead. So I will take Chatterfang from them. Pass the turn. The Manufacturer won't come down till turn 3. Chatterfang seems like a bigger threat in general, but I want them to play Lannis on 2 because we have Collective Brutality. Opponent's probably going to lead on Verdant Catacombs fetching... Oh, no, they don't. Okay. We draw another Inquisition. So... we know their hand, but we are going to Inquisition this turn to get rid of the Academy Manufacturer. Pass the turn. So this way when they play Lannis, we can Collective Brutality to kill it. They fetch, they shock Watery Grave. They play Lannis. Actually, did I get rid of the right 2 cards out of their hand? I don't even know. We draw another Maze Mind Tome. So play a Swamp. I'm gonna just kill with Collective Brutality. Pass the turn. If I have to use Consume Spirit for 1 to kill Quirion Ranger, I will. Opponent drew another Lannis and plays Verdant Catacombs. They hit us for 1. Okay, land please. Cling to Dust might also work here. So Cling, we're going to exile Verdant Catacombs to draw a card. I want a removal spell for Lannis if I can get it. That is not what I asked for. Play Maze Mind Tome. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. They draw. Opponent plays a Gingerbread Cabin, makes a food. They crack Verdant Catacombs. They get a Breeding Pool untapped. That's a problem. Okay. So they make a guy. They investigate. We need to find a Damnation and pronto. They attack us for 2. Okay, move to their end step. Scry. Thoughtseize is not what I want in the slightest. We untap. And I'm going to use this one to scry. Urborg to the top. Draw Urborg. And I think I have to Maze Mind Tome and then redraw. Because we really, really need to find a Wrath. Opponent might just be able to kill me next turn. Depending on what they wheel into and how many tokens they can make. We draw Mastermind's Acquisition, but I don't think that helps, at least not yet. We got potentially 3 looks to try and hit a Damnation. Did I bring Damnation in? Actually, hang on. I left Damnation in the sideboard. Oh my goodness. So we need a Cabal Coffers. That's what we actually need. Why didn't I bring in Damnation? Opponent wheels into a Metallic Rebuke, which is probably the best, like, the literal best case scenario for us. They pick up Gingerbread Cabin. They replay it. So they can spin again. Chatterfang. Okay, now we really, really need Cabal Coffers. Because I think that'll get us up to 8 mana. So we have 4, and then it taps for... No, it doesn't actually get us there, but it might allow us to stay alive by killing Urza. I'll see. I know we need the mana, though. So we take 3 damage. My goodness, I just realized how bad I'm lagging. Scry. Ugin would be sick, but it is not a Cabal Coffers. Scry. Torment of Hailfire is not a Cabal Coffers. We draw Swamp. So I can kill something with 3 or less toughness with Consume Spirit. How much damage do they have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 12. I'm 1 damage off of killing Urza. Do I kill Lannis or do I kill Chatterfang? I think it's Lannis, actually. So it'd be 1, 1, 2, or 2, 3, 4, 9, 10, 11. Pass the turn. So Ugin's not an out, because we just scryed him to the bottom. We have to get Coffers and hope that Coffers plus Mastermind's Acquisition can get us to a Damnation that wins us the game. That's basically the play here. There's a really good chance we're just dead. My opponent can probably put enough artifact tokens onto the battlefield that the construct will just kill us, I imagine. They hit Chatterfang, which is a redundant copy of the creature on board. Because we killed Lannis, they can't investigate with it. They play a gingerbread cabin out of hand. So they make a food and a squirrel. I don't know what's happening because the game is lagging. They play an oven. 4, 11, 12, 13. We're going to 3. We can gain 4 off of Maze Mind Tome. Why did I not bring in Damnation? What possessed me? So they sack something to make a... Oh, they sacked a new token to make a food. Am I dead? I think I'm at 2. No blocks. So stop on our upkeep. Unless I miscounted. Okay, stop on our upkeep. Scry. Gain life. Erebos' intervention. We can't kill anything that matters. We can kill Urza, but that doesn't gain us enough life to survive, so that goes to the bottom. Then we scry. Come on, Cabal Coffers. Baleful Mastery doesn't keep us alive even if we kill the 8/8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, we would die exactly. Or almost exactly. We draw Cabal Coffers. Come on, Cabal Coffers! Yes! Okay, play Cabal Coffers. How much mana does this give us? Get a card from outside the game. Damnation. Damnation! It's working! They untap Chatterfang, picking up Gingerbread Cabin. I don't think that actually does anything. I think that just lets them replay Gingerbread Cabin. Okay, we killed everything. Thank goodness. Do they have another Urza? Oh my god, how? They wheel into a Wooded Foothills. Well, we can Professor Onyx downtick to kill the construct, and if we draw an instant or sorcery that we can cast, we can drain them of life. They play a Gingerbread Cabin. They're floating a bunch of mana. They're going to do it again. They hit Veil. They cast Veil. That doesn't do anything. So we have 6 mana. We untap, we draw. Surgical. So draw an extra card first. Gain 4. We draw a castle. Play Castle Lochthwain. Add a bunch of mana. Play the Professor. Make them sacrifice their biggest creature. Then we're going to Surgical Academy Manufacturer, I think. Drain them. They're holding a cabin. Alright, pass the turn. Unless they draw something with haste or destroys non-creature permanents, they're not going to be able to deal with Professor Onyx this turn, unless they can animate a food into a creature or something. They play a Gilded Goose, they get a food. I actually am worried about time here, mostly. Because while I may be able to win, I may not be able to win in the time allotted. Opponent floats a whole bunch of blue mana, spins into an oven. They play the oven. They attack Lily for 1. She goes to 1. Okay. We untap. We draw Inquisition. Uptick Lily. I'm going to put Cabal Coffers into my hand. Play Cabal Coffers. Inquisition my opponent. Drain them. I can't cling to dust enough times to kill them. They're only holding lands. So add a bunch of mana. Draw a card. Lose a life. Increasing Ambition. Cast Increasing Ambition. Drain our opponent. I've already put Consume Spirit in the grave. I don't have a way to buy it back. I can get a Worst Fears, or actually I can get an Ugin. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I can get an Ugin and play him and take out my opponent's Urza. They're only holding lands. So let's do that. That's probably the fastest way to win here. Play an Ugin. -4 Ugin. Take out the board. Opponent's going to sack Urza to get more foods. We take out the Gilded Goose anyway. And my opponent dies next turn to us flashing back Increasing Ambition, provided that Professor Onyx sticks around. Okay. Opponent untaps. They draw a card. Moment of Truth. Play a Forest. I mean, I guess they could crack 1,000,000 foods to gain a bunch of life, right? They play Karn. They wish with Karn. This is bad. They could get a Pithing Needle, I guess. They're still in the process of wishing. Talk about a good top deck, though. Damping Sphere. Okay, so that stops Cabal Coffers from activating, but we only need to cast a couple of spells to win. And we can kill Karn this turn. So we draw Dismember. Uptick Ugin, kill Karn. Uptick Professor Onyx. I guess we'll take a castle. Lose a life. Play castle. Flashback Increasing Ambition. Oop, that's not what I wanted. Drain our opponent to 5. We'll get Worm Coil and I think Collective Brutality. Alright, pass the turn. Come on, lag! But it plays a land and is passing. We untap. Draw Inquisition. So shoot our opponent. They're going to gain life. Inquisition our opponent. Okay, they're holding a land. Brutality, drain them. Oh, I should have cast Worm Coil because of Damping Sphere. I'm gonna lose to the clock! And my opponent knows it. Oh, they crack a bunch of foods. Uptick here. Get a Maze Mind Tome, I guess? I don't know. Pass the turn. F6. I don't know what they're doing. The game's lagging so much that I can't see anything. If I were my opponent, I would concede. Probably not, actually. We draw Erebos' Intervention. So, uptick on our opponent. Play Worm Coil. Dismember the Goose. No, why is that the first ability? Then F6. Opponent's going to crack a whole bunch of foods in response. If I had restarted the client in between rounds when sideboarding, I wouldn't have this problem. Wizards, fix your stupid client! F6 on their turn. That wasted 7 seconds. Opponent plays a land, they got nothing in hand. Okay, we untap. F6. Attack. I'm F6'd! Why does it keep giving me priority? Wow. Just literally just F6ing on my opponent's first turn, or the first step of my opponent's turn, takes like 5 seconds. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna lose. Attack, please? Yeah, okay. Well, you know, I would request reimbursement, but a player got banned for doing that, apparently, because Yama Killer got banned from requesting reimbursement, because apparently not knowing how to navigate the client is not a valid excuse. We absolutely won this game. And if I 4-1 this league, I am saying this is a 5-0 league. Absolutely. Anybody who disagrees with me can leave. I don't care. I'm actually really disappointed because I have just lost the opportunity to report a 5-0 deck list. Because the few rare times that I do actually 5-0 are never whatever league happens to get reported. Even when I'm playing a deck that technically meets Wizards qualifications. And like, I'm playing a super sick deck, and I actually have a chance to 5-0 with it, and I'm not going to. Which is really frustrating. And yes, part of the problem is my PC. I am on old hardware because I can't afford a freaking graphics card because it's like $3,000. Even my crappy 980 that's 7 years old is still worth like $800 or something. It's like $700 or $800, which is ridiculous. And I don't have $2,000 to drop on a new machine and an additional $1,000 for a graphics card. So like, I'm stuck with this lag. Playing Magic the Gathering. Playing the client that isn't even graphically intensive. It's so frustrating. It's unbelievably frustrating. Wizards, fix your client. Play first. This hand is actually super good, so we're going to keep. Let's demolish our opponents, shall we? Inquisition. Magus of the Moon, Pillage, Seasoned Pyromancer. I'm going to take Pillage from them. Pass the turn. But it plays a Windswept Teeth. Passes. We draw another Cabal Coffers. Play a Swamp. Pass the turn. Opponent fetches up a Stomping Ground tapped. They untap and draw. They play a Snow-Covered Forest, which is a land we did not know about. We untap. We draw Tribute to Hunger. Play Cabal Coffers. Pass the turn. So if my opponent plays Magus of the Moon, it's actually going to +1 mana us for a turn. They play a Snow-Covered Mountain. They play Magus. Tribute to Hunger. We untap. Draw an Urborg. Amazing. Play an Urborg. So, Mastermind's Acquisition. Let's go and get a Thoughtseize. Thoughtseize our opponent. They have Karn, Lightning Bolt, Bone Crusher Giant, so take Karn from them. The rest of those cards don't matter. Opponent untaps. They Utopia Sprawl, which is the card they just drew, naming red. They could Shock Stomping Ground to leave up Lightning Bolt if they want, and then they could either play out Seasoned Pyromancer, or they can play Bone Crusher. They play Seasoned Pyro. See what they discard. Lightning Bolt and Stomping Ground, so they kept Bone Crusher in their hand. They play Wooded Foothills. We untap. Draw Baleful Mastery. So play Cabal Coffers. How much mana do I have? 8, 9. So I can Torment of Hailfire X7. They have 1, 2, 3 permanents. So I think we're going to wait. Actually, are we? Let's just fire it off. It doesn't get a whole lot better than this. So Torment of Hailfire X7. This, like, plays around them drawing a Blood Moon that we can't answer, like an actual Blood Moon. So opponent really only has to sacrifice one thing to stay alive, technically. So they discard Wooded Foothills. They sack an Elemental. They sack Seasoned Pyro. And they sack Utopia Sprawl. Then they're going to take a bunch of damage. Alright, pass the turn. Opponent cracks a Stomping... or cracks Wooded Foothills, gets a Stomping Ground. They untap. Opponent plays a Bone Crusher Giant. Then passes. We draw. Collective Brutality. So... Dismember. Actually, hang on. Dismember. 1, 2, 3. Tick 2. For the guy. Duress. Another Bone Crusher. Alright. Well, that we can at least deal with. They untap. Opponent plays Seasoned Pyro, ditching a Bone Crusher. So we have no idea what the two cards in their hand are. One is a Misty. We untap. Draw a Swamp. Play a Swamp. Baleful Master... Actually, yeah, Baleful Mastery the Pyromancer. Pass the turn. Opponent cracks a Misty, gets a Forest. We have a million amazing top decks. We just need to find any of them. Opponent is drawing a lot of lands. We draw Castle Lochthwain, so play it. Draw a card. Blood Chief's Thirst. Kill the token. Pass the turn. Opponent makes more tokens, that's fine. Opponent untaps. They play a Windswept Heath. They attack for 2, they take us to 14. We untap. Draw Thoughtseize. Thoughtseize our opponent. If it's not a land, it's a burn spell. Yep. We're going to 9. And by 9, I actually mean 8. Okay. Increasing Ambition. Let's get probably one of our Planeswalkers. Let's get Liliana the Last Hope. Actually, how much mana do I have? 4. I could almost get Wormcoil. So, Liliana the Last Hope. Play her. Next turn we can get Increasing Ambition. We can flashback Increasing Ambition, and we can get Consume Spirit and just kill our opponent. They have 1 top deck, which they can kill us. I'm pretty sure. If they got a, like, Bloodbraid Elf into something good. Okay, they play a land. They hit Liliana for 1. We untap. We draw Swamp. So play a Swamp. Kill the Elemental. Float a ton of mana. Float even more. Flashback Increasing Ambition. And let's go get... where's it at? Consume Spirit and... I don't know, Professor Onyx. Then Consume Spirit. Fireball our opponent out. Whew! We got there. Alright. So versus our opponent, I think I'm going to want Surgicals to go with my Thoughtseizes. And I think I want at least 1 Crypt Incursion and our Plague Engineers. I'm going to go down Consuming Vapors and Tribute to Hunger because my opponent goes wide with tokens. I'm going to drop Worst Fears, Gonti, and a map. We'll try like this. I cannot keep a 1-lander versus Ponza, even if it does have 3 hand-hate spells and we're on the draw. I mean, if we drew 2 lands in a row and we took all of our opponent's pillages, it'd be great, but I do not trust this deck to do that. I cannot keep a hand with 2 Cabal Coffers. Alright, we got a keeper. We'll put back Wormcoil and Consume Spirit. Opponent plays a Wooded Foothills and passes. Draw Castle Lochthwain. Play a Swamp. Inquisition. Opponent cracks Wooded Foothills, they get a Veil? Or are they just getting a tap land? Okay, they got a Veil, I guess, or they're bolting us, maybe? Alright, it's a Veil. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. Well, I'm glad I didn't keep the 1-lander with 3 hand-hate spells. They play a Forest. We untap and draw Thoughtseize. Play Castle. Play Thoughtseize. Opponent stomps our face. They have Pillage. They have double Magus of the Moon. Honestly, Magus is not that bad. It's the Pillage that I have to worry about. I can kill at least 1 Magus. It's if they land a Magus and then pillage my only basic that's a problem right now. Opponent plays a Snow-Covered Forest. Plays Magus of the Moon. We untap. Draw Thoughtseize. Play an Urborg. Thoughtseize our opponent. Friggin' Pillage. Take Pillage. Pass the turn. Like, in theory, Pillage wouldn't have been so bad if we drew another Swamp. The problem is, I don't trust my deck to do that right now. So they can play Bone Crusher, they can play Magus. They play another Magus. They hit us for 2. We go to 12. Untap. Swamp, please? Ugin. I mean, Ugin is kind of the exact opposite of a swamp, if I'm being honest. Kill Magus. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. They play a mountain. They have Lightning Bolt, one unknown. They play Seasoned Pyromancer. They're going to dump the Lightning Bolt and draw 2 new cards. They attack us for 2. We go to 12. I mean, in theory, my deck is nothing but kill spells, so... There's a Blood Chief's Thirst. We do need another swamp to actually make it do something, though. Play Plague Engineer, and I think we're going to say Elemental, just to get the guaranteed value. Pass the turn. This should stop Magus from attacking. So if I could top deck Swamp, Cabal, Coffers, we would win this game basically on the spot. Opponent has a Bolt, kills Plague Engineer, then they're going to play Bone Crusher. Yep. They might even have another Bolt in hand. They're going to hit us for 4. We go to 8. Untap. Draw a Swamp. Play a Swamp. Kill Magus. And I'm pretty sure if we draw Cabal Coffers, that puts me at 7 and not 8, actually. I need to draw something else. I didn't bring in Damnation! Why didn't I bring in Damnation? What is wrong with me? I keep forgetting Damnation exists! Alright, opponent hits us for 6, we go to 2. Let's see what we draw. Okay, Collective Brutality does not do anything. So on to game 3. Yeah, so Damnation definitely needs to be in the deck. I don't know why it's not. I can cut a Baleful Mastery for Damnation and a Crypt Incursion. I'm going to drop Surgical, and I'm going to bring back... I'm actually going to put in a Cling to Dust, just as a little bit of life gain. Us being back on the play is also huge. Alright, yeah. We'll keep this. This should delay long enough for us to do something. Opponent mulligan to 6, which is good news for us. Swamp, Inquisition. Opponent is Luca. So take Seasoned Pyromancer. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. They draw. Play Windswept Teeth. They crack it. They get a Forest. They play their Arbor Elf. We untap. Draw Dismember. So Thoughtseize. They got a Magus, which we don't actually care about right now. Take Luca. If I don't Inquisition the Bolt, I don't get another chance. But I think I still kill the Arbor Elf, because there's a lot of 3-drops potentially my opponent could play that would really suck. Pass the turn. Opponent plays a Wooded Foothills, and passes. We untap. Draw Liliana. Play Liliana. Immediately uptick, so it doesn't die to a single bolt. I mean, if they've got Lightning Bolt Stomp here, I'm going to be sad. They fetch a tapped Stomping Ground, okay? They untap. They play a Misty. They crack Misty. They get a Forest. They play Magus. We untap. Draw Blood Chief's Thirst. So, Inquisition. We know they at least have a Lightning Bolt we could take. Second Magus, which we don't actually care about, so take Lightning Bolt. Uptick on Magus of the Moon. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps, they draw. Okay, they spend their turn playing Magus. We are going to dismember that one on its end, on their end step. I guess it doesn't matter which one we dismember, but... Untap. We draw Consume Spirit. Uptick on Magus. I could Consume Spirit just to kill this. You know what? I think I will. It makes my top decks a lot better. Because if I draw Cabal Coffers, now I can actually kick Blood Chief's Thirst. Well, I guess I could before, because it was a mountain and could tap for mana. Liliana just has to survive another turn, and then we can alter and proceed to win the game. Draw a Swamp. Kill Arbor Elf. Play a Swamp. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps, they draw a card. They play a Tireless Tracker, and they pass. We draw Castle Locthwain. Alt Lily. It's not going to be a quick victory, but it will be a victory no matter how many of our lands they shut off and blow up. Kill tracker. Pass the turn. Get 2 zombies. Opponent untaps. They play a mountain. They pillage Castle Lochthwain. It's kind of too little too late. Play a swamp. Go to combat. Attack for 4. Hit them to 13. On our end step, make 4 zombies. And the game is over. Yeah, Blood Moon's not good versus this deck. Blood Moon plus Pillages plus not drawing basics will beat us. I can't believe we 5-0'd. And I'm going to maintain for a fact that this was 5-0. Anybody who disagrees with me can fight me. And by fight me, I mean have a civil discourse in the comments down below, where I will tell you you are wrong. Sorry. Treasure chest number 1, we get... Ooh, Trinisphere. That's got to be worth something, right? 5 tickets. Not bad. Treasure chest number 2. 10 play points and a Varix Bladewing, which I know to be worth nothing. Treasure chest number 3. 5 play points and Indestructibility and Mirror Turbine. Treasure chest number 4. 25 play points and a Rakshasa Death Dealer. Alright. Final treasure chest. 5 play points. Ooh, a full art promo, the chef. And a Vexing Arcanix. Alright. What's promo? Oh, I'm gonna have to actually search through the web client, because there's no way. Okay. The extended art. How much is the extended art promo? Magic Online. Oh, there's no way it's only a ticket. The regular printing of her is like $10. Or it decreased to $3. I'm not sure. It's gonna be worth something. That's the key. Alright. So let's talk about this deck. I mean, as soon as I find it in the deck list. This deck is really good. Because we no longer have to rely on other colors of mana to generate huge amounts of mana in black, we can win the game however we want. We have the tools to answer almost any situation and board state with this deck. We can, like I said at the beginning of this video, we are teched to beat aggro, because we have a lot of cheap kill spells and a lot of incidental life gain. We are teched to beat control, because we have a ton of hand disruption and can just take whatever permission we can't deal with from them. And then we can generate mana to get around their tax-based permission. We can beat combo decks, because we have Inquisition, Thoughtseize, Surgical Extraction, combos that rely on certain cards. We just take it from our opponent. And we have a lot of Grave Hate. Now, I think to make this deck better, the kill spell suite needs to be tweaked. Different cards need to be rotated in and out. I like having a diverse number of kill spells, and kill spells with diverse mana costs, kill spells with diverse names. All of them are powerful and very important. I don't think Fatal Push deserves a slot in this deck without playing fetch lands, and I do not want to play fetch lands in this deck. I don't really want to be paying life for my lands. I don't want to be shuffling my deck all that much, really, because we want to be getting incremental card advantage off of Mazemind Tome. The only time we should be shuffling is off of our tutor effects, like Increasing Ambition, Mastermind's Acquisition. So, really, if you just take this deck, and, like, I was kind of memeing a little bit with this pile of cards here. Like, there are 8 meme cards in this deck. Cards that I thought are good. They're just fun-ofs, though. Like, I don't know what the best mono-black win condition is. And I don't think anybody does right now. In fact, like, we never wished for Emrakul. I think there was one situation where we could have, but we Torment of Hailfired our opponent for lethal. So, you know, whatever. If you cut these 8 cards from the deck, maybe Worst Fears actually deserves to stay, because that card was insane. I can't believe we mind-controlled somebody and bolted their own creature twice. But really, this pile of 8 cards can be any 8 black or colorless win conditions that you want it to be, as long as it's powerful. The rest of the deck really seems great. Mazemind Tome is the excellent card draw advantage engine of choice. It gains us life, it draws us cards, it scries every turn, even if we don't want to pay mana for it. It's a little bit slow, but I mean, you can't have everything all the time, right? Cabal Coffers, Urborg was crazy. So, like, think about the games that we actually lost. There were a couple of times we got aggroed out. We just, like, there were games where we drew 3 copies of Coffers and nothing else. There was a game where we drew 3 copies of Urborg, and we literally just couldn't make our land drops, and then we drew nothing else. Like, and then the rest of the performance was dominating. And if I had been playing in paper versus the opponent that was playing the Clue, Food, Urza deck, I would have beat them. I would say 98% of the time. From that last position, I would have beat them. And I'm really sad that I didn't 5-0 and get this deck list reported. Because this really, like, I'm proud because I finally created a deck that is not a mainstream strategy, that is a 5-0, like, deserves to be tiered deck with representation. And another way you can improve this deck a lot, by the way, is just by fixing the sideboard. The sideboard was just like left over from Mono Black Tron. There definitely should be a Damnation in the main deck. Some kind of Wrath needs to be in the main deck. Absolutely. I don't know why it's not. It almost lost us the game twice. Thankfully, Mastermind's acquisition was able to get us out of those situations. I think both times we tutored our sideboard for Damnation. I really like this deck, and I actually think this deck is legitimately good. It is a really fun archetype. I'm kind of going off on a tangent, and I apologize for anybody who doesn't want to listen to it. But thank you to those people who are. I have not played a lot of interactive Magic in a very long time. And the modern metagame has gotten a little bit better. Pre-Modern Horizons 2, it was getting a little bit worse with Blitz, because Blitz, it just felt like there was no answer to Blitz. They're just going to cast 20 spells in the first 2 turns, and there's no way that you can keep up with them unless you're also playing Blitz. And yes, there are situations where you can play a control deck against that, and you can kind of interact, but then it becomes this, like, either you die in the first turn because your opponent does 20 damage, or you beat them and it's a long, slow grind to beat them, and you're playing a deck that is literally only answers. This deck felt interesting. This deck felt interesting because it's a deck that plays tutors for cards that do not win the game through some combination. Mastermind's acquisition and increasing ambition and similar effects when at an appropriate mana cost are skill testing. In a deck like this, with diversified cards, diversified threats, and a diversified sideboard that we can wish from with Mastermind's acquisition, keep in mind we only run 1. And think about how many times it actually won us the game. Like, when you're playing a deck like this, you have to make interesting decisions, you have to take interesting lines, you don't win the game the same way every time, it's not some stupid I win the game combo. Your opponent generally has a way to come back. The games go long enough that they feel like Magic games, you still have the opportunity to lose, and it doesn't necessarily even feel bad when you lose. Because, like, we lost to the one, 5-color deck player where the guy just had, like, 5 or 4 Voice of Resurgence in his hand, and, like, we still put up a good fight. That was a game of Magic. A lot of games of Magic aren't actually games of Magic, but this deck plays Magic, and I love it. Anyway, thank you for listening to my rant. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk. I appreciate all of you guys. You guys are wonderful human beings, and I hope you guys enjoyed this content, because I sure as shit enjoyed playing this. This is the coolest deck I've played in a long time, and it might get boring if I play it all the time, but I suspect I've got maybe 30 more leagues with this deck in me. Like, I could sit here, and I could play 5 more leagues tonight, and I could record all of them, and I would not get tired, because I enjoy this. My only complaint this entire league was because of Wizards Moto client sucks. And that's it. That's my only complaint. And it's been my complaint for a very long time. So, y'all are wonderful human beings. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this content, please leave a like, drop a comment, subscribe to the channel if you're so inclined, and remember, you can follow me on Twitch. Same username over there as you find me on here. I stream Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Mountain Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The last few times have been earlier than that. I hope to see you guys next time. You're all wonderful human beings. Bye! Hey, just wanted to give a shout out to my patrons for the month of June. If you want to have your name show up in this list, there's a link to my Patreon down in the description below. Thank you all.